Gabe Newell packed his suitcase. This was it. He'd made the decision. He was dropping out of Harvard. It was one of the most prestigious universities in the world. He'd worked ridiculously hard to get here, and completing his degree would help fast-track him into any career he could envision. But that life plan didn't seem to fit with Gabe. Besides, he had what he figured was a better offer. Gabe's brother had a new job at a tech company in Seattle. Gabe had liked to spend time with him over the summer while he was at work, hanging out with him at his desk, until his brother's manager got annoyed. If Gabe was going to be taking up space in the office all day, he might as well have something to do. Working on tech projects all summer was wonderfully fulfilling. The experience was incredible. Gabe felt like he'd learned more in 3 months with the company than he had done in 3 years at Harvard. And so, Gabe jumped ship. He walked out of college into an uncertain future with the company that his brother was working for. This could all prove a disaster if things didn't work out, and he'd be left, having thrown away an education that most people would give anything to achieve. But Gabe liked his chances. He had to do what felt right for him, even if that meant leaving his formal education behind to focus on more practical methods of learning. All he could do was hope that his new employer, a company by the name of Microsoft, would turn out to be the success he believed it could be. After 13 incredibly successful years at Microsoft, Gabe Newell was ready for something new. His gamble on the company had paid off, and after years of work designing operating systems for the company, Gabe was now a millionaire, with no shortage of possibilities for what to do next. Gabe partnered with a friend from Microsoft, Mike Harrington, and the two began to think up plans for forming their own company. Mike had been pleased with his work at Microsoft, but he'd always wondered whether all he'd achieved had come from simply piggybacking on a company that was already destined for success. He wanted to prove that he could make something all his own, that could be appreciated and loved, and was eager to start from scratch without the reputation of an already popular company. Their work on operating systems had taught them the importance of building tools. They saw their work on Windows platforms as a way to help people to get the most out of their computers. No matter whether an end user was an enormous multinational company or a couple of friends building a gaming mod in their spare time, Gabe and Mike saw their creations as being a helpful aid to the creativity of others. Thinking about where they'd like to go with their company, the pair decided that they were eager to create a video game. This seemed like a fairly straightforward process. They could license the use of an existing game engine and modify it for their needs. Cash flow wasn't a problem, so all they'd need was some actual designers and programmers. And so, the pair set to work, recruiting new staff to join them in their brand new game studio, Valve. Rather than only hiring established industry professionals, the pair reached out to the amateur modding communities for various popular games. These gamers, they felt, were a source of fantastic, untapped potential. What they lacked in formal experience, they more than made up for in ingenuity and creativity. And considering the grassroots evolution of Microsoft in its early years, Mike and Gabe figured they should similarly recruit industry newcomers to build something fresh and original. The team set to work, creating a first-person shooter for PC platforms, as Gabe and Mike, along with their team of modders, knew home computers best. As progress on the game moved forward, Gabe and Mike began searching for a publisher for their title. No matter how much capital their new studio had, they knew that actually getting the game into stores was outside of their abilities at this point, and they needed to go through established channels in order to see their game succeed. After some searching, the pair found a publisher that was willing to take a chance on a new, unproven studio, and all seemed to be going well. Their game, Half-Life, was announced to the public, and was instantly embraced with open arms. Gamers everywhere were blown away by the game's style and design. This quickly looked like it was going to be one of the year's biggest sellers, and Valve's new publishing partner were absolutely thrilled. But Gabe and Mike weren't convinced. As they looked at the game they'd been building thus far, they began to wonder if, perhaps, some ideas could have been fleshed out better. They didn't want their first title to be anything less than perfect. And if Half-Life didn't meet the high expectations that fans already had, then their new passion project would be a failure in their eyes. With some trepidation, the pair approached their publisher and explained that the game wouldn't be ready for its scheduled release date. The publisher was not impressed. They urged Valve not to worry about this nonsensical perfectionism. No game is without flaws, and Half-Life certainly seemed good enough to win over an audience, even with a few rough edges. But Gabe and Mike would not be dissuaded. They simply couldn't rush the completion of the game, knowing that it would have to sit, incomplete, on gamers' shelves forever. It was better to make the best game possible than to cut corners to get it out in time for its scheduled release. And so, the entire team at Valve paused their work as the project was rethought. Ultimately, the team ended up scrapping pretty much everything they'd done up to that point, and started all over again from scratch. With this second attempt, the team focused on building the game around a strong story. This wasn't entirely unheard of in a first-person shooter, but it was rare. Most titles simply featured a lot of monsters for players to shoot, without any real thought about the context behind what was going on. With Half-Life, though, Valve wanted to make something that kept the player engaged through a compelling, overarching narrative, with plenty of plot twists and turns along the way. What's more, instead of giving the player context through lengthy cutscenes or text dumps, the game's story was told through key narrative clues. As the player searched around, they'd see events happening through the eyes of their character, so as not to break immersion, and to help the player learn the story in an organic, believable fashion. This wasn't a game that pretended to be a movie, as was common, but a seamless story that was perfect for the interactive medium. As Half-Life was finally completed, the team sat back and congratulated themselves on their work. They'd made something that really stood out from the crowd, giving players a unique experience and telling a powerful story in a unique fictional world. And so, as the game was finally released, to enormous critical and commercial success, the team at Valve made the decision to give a little back to the gamers who quickly fell in love with Half-Life. This was a game that had been built by modders, and to help the successful modding of their work, they released the entirety of Half-Life source code online for interested gamers to study and learn from in order to build more complex and impressive add-ons for the game. After all, Gabe and Mike thought, their game hadn't just been meant as a single experience. They'd wanted to provide gamers of all levels a tool to build upon. Just as their work at Microsoft had provided a digital suite to help creatives of all kinds of materials, Half-Life would prove to be the perfect tool to help modders across the internet build their own unique games and experiences. Finally, with the success of Half-Life behind him, Mike told Gabe that he planned to leave the company on a high note. He'd achieved his goal of making something he could be proud of and proving that he could create something worthwhile on his own terms. Besides, after so much work on Half-Life, his family deserved a vacation, and he was looking forward to taking things slow for a while. Gabe was sorry to see his friend and partner leave. It meant losing his greatest support and source of advice and guidance over the past few years. He now had the difficult challenge ahead of building on Valve's initial successes and not letting Half-Life fans down. But he knew he could do it. Valve had achieved everything they had because his talented team had given their all to build the best game they possibly could. Now, they were ready to do the same again, as Gabe began to steer Valve towards the future. The moral of this story is that if something's really worth doing, it's worth doing right. If you have a desire to build something, it's important to take the time to make something you can truly be proud of. This often means learning new skills, and being willing to start projects over if needs be, in order to build something that's the best it can possibly be. This takes time, and it involves a lot of practice and hard work. Nobody ever achieves their dreams by getting complacent, and while you may face setbacks and hiccups along the way, as you keep pushing forwards, working every day to improve and develop your talents, you'll see the progress you desire over time. As you keep striving and working on your passion projects, eventually you'll create something truly special. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter what other people think of your work. You may receive all the praise and support you need, or labour quietly in obscurity for years and years. As long as you're proud of what you finally produce, though, then that's all that matters. when you're proud of your accomplishments, you'll be able to say that you finally succeeded.